But greatness for me, and if you look up the word great, when you're great, you change the landscape. Now, by that definition, Pac is definitely great. Biggie, as far as technical rapping wise, I would say, for my opinion, he would be a little slicker than Pac as far as rapping wise. But what Pac did, he changed the landscape because all that thug life and all that, I didn't agree with a lot of it, but it did change the scope of what was going on. After Biggie did his albums, nothing changed basically. He was good. He was all right. We loved all the records and all that, but nothing changed. It's just like after Eminem he came out, is not 50 great white rappers. It's just him and a couple other guys. Nothing changed. So now, as far as it's just like when I said that I was an MC and I was the first MC, so I said, okay, yeah, I'm an MC, and then you had 1,000 people that said they was MCs all over the world. That's great. See, if you do something and then people acknowledge it and it's out there, but nothing changed, is good. It could be very good, but not you can't consider it great because great changes the landscape. Things if something great happens, if you come out today and if something great happens tomorrow, everything is going to be different. If it's sunny today and if it's sunny tomorrow, you just had 2 good days. It's nothing great happened. So like I said, and technically, if I had to make a choice between who was the better rapper between Biggie and Pac, I would choose Biggie. But now if you had to say who was the greater rapper, you would have to choose Pac because his thing, it changed everything. You had that whole thug life movement. You had, it was more of a change in hip hop in the diaspora of hip hop and the dynamics of hip hop. In the dynamics of hip hop than when Biggie did his album. He just did a hell of an album.
So you pretty much saying that you feel like Biggie didn't really have that much influence musically
on other rappers? No. There's more. In other words, there's more rappers that actually quoted that they wanted to be the next Pac or they wanted to be like Pac. I don't recall a record of anybody saying that they wanted to be like Biggie.
Do you feel like Biggie lacked substance in his music? Because he do got some songs. You can look at Juicy and you can look at Sky's the Limit. But outside of that, I mean,
he definitely that was the difference between Biggie and Pac. And that's why I said I would be interested to see what Biggie would say now because he was just a hell of a shit talking nigga. That's basically what it was. He was, he had a rhyme like when you put a rhyme together, okay, so now you got to have a good intro and then you have the metaphors and then you have the punchlines and then you have the setup to the last line, you know what I mean? And that's how rhymes are built. In some of Biggie's rhymes, you could tell he was in a zone. There was no fillers. There was no, okay, yeah, well, I'm going to say this just to lead into that. It was like everything was just that. It was just all there, like it was in a zone. But it didn't pertain to nothing other than just Biggie talking shit. You know what I'm saying? Like he was just for what it is, you can't take nothing away from him. Like I said, if you want to talk about who technically was the better rapper, he's definitely one of the best that ever did it. But as far as I'm the kind of person, and a lot of people are. You wanna hear somebody say something like in other words, Rakim would be the best example of, he when he was a hell of a shit talking nigga. He was a great MC. Like he changed it. Like we all had to change our shit for Rakim. But he would say something and then he would drop a little jewel, nothing, but it was like, you have to think about that. It ain't where you from, is where you at. I mean, like, okay, yeah. He gave you a little something. Biggie just talked pure shit. He was just a pure shit talking nigga. You know what I mean? Like he just, hell of a song. Like I said, one of the best to ever do it. But for a person that if you looking to hear something, you don't need to listen to Biggie because you're not going to hear it. You're just going to hear Biggie talk that shit. Pac, like I said, was the greater rapper because he had a duality to his whole thing. He could talk street shit, and he could say slick shit, but he could say some other shit as well. So, but technically, as far as Biggie's technique, his texture, you know, the way he laid his shit out. Like I said, some of his rhymes is no, he's in a zone. It's like, you know, and very few people could write like that. Like of every line, like you could pick every line, you know, because this is what people usually say about most rappers. Yeah, you know, and then when Jay said, and it's two lines. You don't do that about Biggie. There's that whole joint. You spit out the whole joint because there was no two lines that stood out better than the other lines because they all was crazy, and he was in his zone. That's how good for me. That's how good Biggie is compared to how everybody else put they rhyme style together. It was like it was in a zone. The whole rhyme was on fire. And even with Biggie, not more so Pop, but with Biggie and Pac actually, I would have it would have been curious to see what they would have been saying today. Because you know everything evolves, especially if you got talent. Your talent, it'll go somewhere else. You'll start here, and then you might paint pictures. You know, 20 years later. So it would have been very interesting to see what Biggie and Pac would have to say today. But for me, especially Biggie, because he had more like a catchiness. You know, Pac was more like a direct. His style is more like kind of like how my style is like he said exactly. You don't have to. It's not hieroglyphics. He said exactly what you heard him say. Biggie had a little bit more of a pop, and it would have been interesting to see what he would be saying now. You know what I mean? Based on what he said then, Biggie and Pac, but for me, mostly Biggie.